All right, let's get right into it. We're going to explore the most fundamental, most incredible building block of you, me, and literally every living thing on this planet. We're about to take a tour of the cell, which is basically a microscopic city that is the very definition of life itself.
I mean, think about it for a second. What's the real difference between you and a rock? It sounds like a trick question, but it gets to the absolute core of biology. What is that essential ingredient that makes something alive, while something else is just, well, a rock? The answer isn't some magic spark. It's an unbelievably intricate and organized structure.
And there's our answer, the cell. This is it. It's the smallest possible thing that can still be considered alive, that can handle all the essential functions of life all by itself. Anything less than a whole cell, and it just can't make it on its own. It is the atom of life, the fundamental unit, whose name literally comes from the Latin for small room. Now you gotta understand, not all cells are built the same way. Over billions of years, life has really followed two main architectural blueprints. You've got your simple, no-frills, efficient outpost on one hand, and then you have the complex, sprawling, bustling metropolis on the other. Let's see what that actually looks like. Okay, so take a look here. On the left, that's a prokaryotic cell, like a bacterium. It's super streamlined. Everything it needs is just kind of floating around in one open space. But on the right, that's a eukaryotic cell. That's the kind of cell that makes up you, me, plants, and animals. See all those different compartments? Each one is like a separate building or a district with a very specific job to do.
So the big difference really just boils down to organization. Prokaryotes are way simpler. They don't have a nucleus, their DNA is just one single loop floating around inside. Eukaryotes, though, they're bigger, they're more complex, and they're all about compartments. They have a special protected nucleus for their DNA and are just jam-packed with all these other specialized structures we call organelles.
So for the rest of this explainer, we're going to focus on that big, bustling city, the eukaryotic cell. Think of this as a guided tour. We're going to start at the city limits and work our way right to the command center.
Every city needs a border, right? Something to separate inside from outside. For the cell, that's the cell membrane. But this isn't some rigid brick wall. Instead, scientists call it a fluid mosaic model. That's because it's a flexible, constantly shifting double layer of fat molecules with all sorts of proteins floating around in it, kind of like tiles in a mosaic. So this border has three absolutely critical jobs. First, it's a physical barrier. Simple enough. Keeps the inside in and the outside out. Second, it gives the cell its shape. But maybe the most important job is the third one, selective permeability. It's like the city's bouncer. It has total control over what gets in and what gets out. It's very, very picky. All right, we made it past the gates. We are now inside the cytoplasm. You can think of this as the general environment of the city. The streets, the parks, the air. It's this jelly-like substance that fills up the whole cell, and it's where pretty much all the action happens. Okay, next up, the city's industrial zone. This whole network is called the endoplasmic reticulum, or just ER for short. It's split into two districts. The rough ER, it's called that because it's covered in these little dots called ribosomes, is the protein factory. Then you've got the smooth ER, no ribosomes here. It focuses on other stuff like making lipids and detoxifying poisons. So once those proteins and lipids get built in the ER, they can't just hang around. They need to be sorted, modified, and packaged for delivery. That brings us to the city's central post office, the Golgi apparatus. It takes in the freshly made products from the ER, puts the finishing touches on them, and packages them up to be shipped out. Of course, with all of this manufacturing and shipping, things can get a little messy. A busy city produces waste. So how does the cell handle this? With lysosomes. These things are basically the city's garbage disposal and recycling center. They're little sacks filled with powerful digestive enzymes that just break down any waste, debris, or old cell parts. And when you put it all together, you see this incredible workflow. It's a whole coordinated system. A protein is born in the rough ER, and then travels to the Golgi to get processed, and then it's shipped out in a tiny transport bubble called a vesicle. It's a ridiculously efficient production line.
But of course, none of this can happen without energy. The manufacturing, the shipping, the recycling, it all takes power. So scattered all over the city, you'll find these, the power plants, the mitochondria. And check out that unique structure. It has a smooth outer membrane, but the inner membrane is all folded up. Those folds dramatically increase the surface area, making it an energy-producing machine.
This is why everyone calls the mitochondrion the powerhouse of the cell. It's not just a cute nickname, it performs cellular respiration, which means it takes the nutrients we eat and the oxygen we breathe and converts them into a molecule called ATP. And ATP is the universal energy currency that pays for literally every single activity inside our cellular city. So, we've seen the industry, we've seen the logistics, we've seen the power grid. Now it's time to visit the most important building in the entire metropolis. We're heading to the command center, the cell's version of City Hall. Welcome to the nucleus. This organelle is so important, it's surrounded by its own double membrane, a high-security system called the nuclear envelope, to protect what's inside. And what's inside is the cell's most precious possession, its genetic material, the master blueprints for the entire organism.
Inside City Hall, we find a couple of key things. You've got the chromosomes, which are these tightly coiled threads of DNA that contain all the city's plans, every single gene. And see that dense spot in the middle? That's the nucleolus. Its specific job is to build ribosomes, the very machines that will then go out into the city and construct everything based on the DNA's instructions.
Okay, so we finished our tour. Now let's zoom all the way back out and talk about the fundamental law that governs all of these tiny cities, the cell theory.
Our understanding of this didn't just happen overnight. It started way back in 1665 when Robert Hooke first peeked at cork under a microscope and saw these little, small rooms. Then, almost 200 years later, two scientists, Schleiden and Schwann, had the big realization that all living things were made of them. And finally, in 1855, Rudolf Virchow added the last, crucial piece of the puzzle.
And this is it, the modern cell theory, boiled down to two simple, incredibly powerful ideas. Number one, if it's alive, it is made of cells, period. And number two, you can't just create a cell out of nothing. Every single cell that exists today came from another cell that already existed.
So why does any of this matter to you? Well, because your body isn't just one of these cities. It is an empire of about 30 trillion of them. 30 trillion tiny, complex, coordinated metropolises all working together right now to make you, you.
Which really just leaves us with one final kind of mind-blowing thought. If each of your 30 trillion cells is its own little bustling city, following its own blueprints and doing its own thing, then who or what is actually in charge?